Fifth grade, today you are going to start planning for your clay project, which is going to be designing a tic-tac-toe board. And you're going to be designing both the board, which will be created from a slab of clay, and then also your game pieces. And you'll need two different designs. We'll be making 5 of each design. Um, and all of them need to be united in some sort of theme. So obviously my theme here on my example is an art or a painting theme. But you can choose whatever theme you'd like as long as it's school appropriate. You have your computers today so that you can research and look up photographs of whatever theme you come to. Step 1 is going to be brainstorming in your sketchbook. So using your computer, you're going to sketch out at least 2 or 3 ideas, maybe more, of different themes that you can make. I would start with a list and then kind of work your way up to some little thumbnail sketches. So, for example, if I wanted to do, some kind of game theme, I might think about what could be the board. So, if my theme is games, I want to narrow it down. I might pick something like a Nintendo Switch, and maybe the Switch is the shape of my board. We are going to add or have the opportunity to add lots of details to this project. So I do want you, when you're initially sketching things out, to include a lot of details. But our main goal today is actually just to make templates that we can use to kind of guide the actual production of the clay. So if I'm brainstorming, my Nintendo Switch board, I might make a list of my favorite games, and then I might settle on a game. Maybe I'm settling on Mario, for example, and I need to create 2 different game pieces. And I'm not going to draw these to scale. I'm just going to kind of sketch out using my computer, using visuals to reference and help me draw. I might sketch out, okay, game piece 1 will be a mushroom, and game piece 2 will be the star. So this is my board, this is piece 1, and this is piece 2. Now I might go forward and come up with several ideas. Maybe my next idea is to do maybe like a spooky theme or a creepy crawly theme. So I might sketch out for my board a big spider web and put plenty of details on those. So one thing to think about for your board is that you are going to be adding some raised areas with coils so that your game pieces have, clear separation, and so they don't roll off the board. You don't really have an opportunity to add 3-dimensional pieces outside of those coils unless you're adding them on the perimeter. You could add 3D pieces on the perimeter. So a lot of the details that we draw on in your sketchbook, those might be painted on, and that's okay. And then maybe my 2 game pieces here, I'm going to make a spider, of course. I have a spider web. And I might look up pictures of spiders and try to draw something a little more realistic. And then maybe my other thing is going to be a snake. So I'll draw a little snake here. And then those would be my 2 game pieces. Now, if you're not sure, you could also brainstorm a bunch of them. You could keep going and then pick later which 2 you're going to settle on. And then maybe for my third idea, I'm going to go with a sport. So I'll do maybe a baseball diamond. And again, I'm not worried about where the raised area, I'm not drawing in these raised sections yet. I'm going to do that later. Right now, I'm just focusing on making the board and adding the details that I need. So there's my field, and then of course my pieces, and then maybe do a baseball for one. I could do a bat, I could do a helmet, I could do a glove. I'll just do a bat here. And remember, you can draw more than 2 of these for now, just to kind of brainstorm. So there's my 3 ideas. Now, from this point, I might refine or edit some of my ideas, add more details, come up with more pieces, draw more details on my board. I might ask friends around me what they think. I want to pick the most original idea. And then you're going to start working on your template. So from this point, you're going to choose, I have 2 sizes of papers, and you're going to choose which size makes the most sense for your design, the one that you're going to choose to go forward with. So we have a rectangular piece and a square piece, and this is just to kind of limit your sizing. If I was drawing the Nintendo Switch as my final piece, a rectangle would make more sense because it's longer than it is tall. If I was doing the baseball diamond, a square would make the most sense. The spider web could go either way. I could draw it elongated on this piece, or kind of equilateral on this piece. So whichever one you decide to go forward with, you want to choose the paper that makes the most sense for that shape, and then try to fill the paper as much as possible. Obviously, this shape is not exactly a rectangle, but I still want to fill as much of the paper as I can, and that goes for any shape you draw. For example, if you were drawing a shape like this, I would want to pick the square paper, and I would want to fill it as much as possible. So I'm cutting off very, very little of this paper to make my template. So I'm going to sketch in my switch. And even though this is a template and it's not your actual project, I really do want you to draw as much detail as possible, because this will be kind of your guide the whole way through. We're not going to color them today, but we'll use the photographs for reference. Now, I would probably even want to go a step further and draw all of the little symbols on the buttons. Okay, so once I have my board traced out, I am actually going to cut this to the largest outside shape, because when we get clay, you're going to be laying this on your slab of clay and tracing the shape, and then kind of using it as a guide to place all your details. Same thing when we're painting these, you'll use this as your guide. So once you have your board piece cut out, instead of drawing with pencil on there, where I just noticed that's not quite even here, where your raised coils are going to go, instead of drawing that with pencil, we're going to use a highlighter marker, and we want to try to divide it as equally as possible. So if I imagine, I'm going to need 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines, and that's regardless of what your shape is, 2 vertical, 2 horizontal. So I want to try to find where the center is, and then place my 2 lines at an equal distance from the center and the edge on both sides. So if this is my center and this is my edge, my first line would go right about here. That's right about in the middle. Same thing with this side. Center, edge, here's the middle. Then I'm going to rotate. If my center is here, my edge is here, I want to find the middle as close as I can. And of course, these are going to be thicker than just a highlighter line, so you might color a little bit to sort of show like the depth of your coil. And the reason we're doing this is because you're also going to make little templates for your pieces so that you know that they're going to fit. So I have some pre-cut papers that might be a little bit bigger than or smaller than the way that you've divided your paper, and your pieces should be able to fit into the smallest area. So you might want to kind of take a look at yours and cut your pieces to fit the smallest area. You could also adjust your lines a little bit, because I've got obviously a lot more space here, I could kind of move this line over a little bit. Give myself a little more space. So this is going to be the relative size of my pieces, give or take. And so now I'm going to sketch out the exact size of my pieces onto these little papers. And again, I want to fill up as much of the paper as I can. One thing to think about is some of you might actually be able to cut this out and trace it. For example, if I'm cutting it from slab. But if you're making a piece like my paintbrushes, for example, this is three-dimensional, so I wouldn't be able to simply just cut it out, but I'm still going to draw the exact size that I want. That's still going to help me when I'm modeling my pieces. So I'm going to sketch out. I want it to touch as many edges as possible. If your piece can touch or almost touch all four sides, that's ideal. So just checking to make sure these are going to fit. And we can adjust these as we're building. So put them in an approximate space. And then you can also kind of cut your pieces out. Now, once you get to this point today of having all your templates ready to go, we're finished. We're not going to get our hands on the clay until next week. So from this point, you can either refine your drawings some more, try to come up with a plan for your colors. You might label what colors things are going to be. That will help you when we're painting. If I know that I want this, for example, to be yellow, I want this to be red, I want this to be blue, this is going to be black, you can kind of label out your colors and do more planning while you have the picture up, or you can free draw or color or write in your sketchbook quietly until everyone's finished.